Okay, so I just completed this game recently. This game is a follow-up to Final Fantasy X. So this is Final Fantasy X-2. Um, it's basically the best way to describe it is like it's kind of like that extra TV show you always wanted, like a OVA. If you're going to anime or if you had a favorite TV show and then they made like a sequel to it. Like I think it was like, oh, Boy Meets World, and now it's Girl Meets World. Like it's a direct sequel to something you played. So in order to get the most out of this game, I would recommend that you play 10 first, so you can get the gist of what's going on. But point is, so the High Summoner from the original game, Yuna, is now enjoying the calm that they brought about from the first game. So the calm being that there's no strife, there's no problems, there's no impending doom, coming upon everyone. So it's just a time of peace until things start unfolding. A weapon that was available back in 10 but was not used, called Vegnagun, is now being threatened to be used on all of Spira. So the reason Vegnagun wasn't used in the first one to take down Sin was because Vegnagun wasn't capable of discerning friend from foe. So yeah, it would have destroyed Sin, but then it also would have destroyed everyone else as well. Because Vegnagun operates on violence. So that's kind of a mild picture of Vegnagun. Vegnagun operates on violence. So if it feels threatened, it will attack. So basically here, let's get to the main screen here. So basically, let's load it real quick. Basically what she's doing in this game in particular is she's trying to find Titus, the guy she was in love with in the first one, even though he technically died, spoiler alert, died from the first one. She had received a sphere that she watched, and it looked like it showed him, or at least a silhouette of him. So she set upon this mission with Riku and this new girl named Pain to try to find Titus, to see if he's actually out there or if it's just her seeing stuff. So along with trying to stop Vegnagun and finding Titus, that's what kind of kicks off this journey for her. Let's see. So I'm going to show you real quick. So I'm going to show you the kind of like hub world kind of thing. So throughout the course of the game, you'll be on this ship here. And this ship allows you to fly over all of Spira. Kind of like the same ship we had in the first one, just it's a different ship. So what this group is priding themselves on, and this is Pain here. What this group is priding themselves on is that they're sphere hunters. So they hunt down spheres, and spheres in this game, just like in the other one, hold memories in them. So they're hunting down spheres for the memories, of Titus, or, of whoever, that's that they're pursuing or that is also involved in the story. You'll also notice that since the calm, there was a divide between the people. There's the people that decided to go the route of New Yevon, which means they still keep the religious teachings from the original game. Despite what happened with Sin and, their religion kind of being debunked. Then there's man, what was that group called? Crap. What was that group called? It was some fighters club. So the point is that fighters club are the people that are kind of going against the religion, being like, see, the religion really didn't help. It didn't do anything for us, and it really didn't help us achieve this calm. So there's really no point, in us believing in that. So there's the two groups, and there was like a third group that belongs with the people. The people that deal with Machina in this game, being the machines and stuff. That third group, they're their own separate group, and they deal with machines and finding treasure and whatnot. So yeah, so this is your basic hub area. So I'll kind of take you around here, so you can kind of see, and like just like before, there's a safe sphere. So I'll kind of take you around the area so you can see what I'm talking about here. You always come to the back here, and you could go to different parts. So we could go to the deck, which is just up high here. To see, this is what the whole ship looks like, called the Celsius. High above the clouds. Then we were just in the deck. So now I'll show you the cabin area where you can fall asleep, to replenish health. You can buy items from him, from the gold store. We'll have plenty of items to buy and sell. Again, sorry for the glare. You always sleep up here. Another cool wrinkle about this game is there's more emphasis on exploration. So you'll be able to climb on top of platforms, jump across platforms. It kind of just opens the game up a little bit, despite the fact that you're going to pretty much the same worlds from Final Fantasy X. The worlds are slightly more fleshed out. So you'll see some areas in 10.2 that you didn't see in 10. And then here's the engine room. Another cool little wrinkle in this game too is that you'll notice that there'll be treasure chests in certain areas, and those treasure chests, when you open them in the chapters, you'll see treasure chests here. When you open them in the chapters, it'll have like a random item in it. You'll notice as you go through each chapter, because there's 5 chapters in the game, as you go through each chapter, items will respawn, in those chests, and there'll be different items each chapter. So always remember to come back to this, to the areas that the treasure chests were in. While there is also 5, chapters in this game, there are also 5 chapters worth of side quests. I highly recommend doing all the side quests, especially early on. I would recommend playing this game with a guide too, so you don't miss on some of the side quests and some of the items and whatnot, because there is quite a bit. Let's go back to the bridge. Let me go ahead and show you the interface. So we got Yuna up top, we got Riku, we got Pain. You got your HP, your MP like usual. And then over the HP, they'll have their job or dress sphere, which is the cool little wrinkle with this game as well. So a dress sphere is kind of like a job class, to where it's like when you wear that dress sphere, you take on the abilities of a samurai, of an alchemist, of a dark knight. There's tons of dress spheres, and I'll get to that in a second. There's also your guild, your playtime, and where you're located currently on the map there. You have your items. You could always sort them. You got your key items, the white magic. You got your equipping area, and you'll notice the S for small. And basically what that means is that character is a small build, so a small type of character, and the reason they have that there is in this game you can actually capture monsters and have them on your team, and some of them will be a small size, some of them will be medium, some of them will be a large. It varies. I personally didn't do the monster thing, but you can use them. It is optional. You'll also notice here under dress spheres, you'll have all your dress spheres here. You have, a gunner dress sphere. You have a gun mage, which is like a blue mage. You have an alchemist, which is like someone that combines things. Usually will combine like potions and ethers and whatnot. Warrior, is really good at offensive combat. Samurai, slightly better than a warrior. Dark Knight is one of the better classes. And it is useful all the way from start to finish. So is Alchemist. Berserker's also very good. Songstress is good for status effects towards your party, so increasing your speed or your strength. Black Mage, White Mage, Thief for stealing. Trainer inflicts status effects on enemies. Lady Luck is very good for leveling up in particular, because it has an ability that allows you to double your experience points. Festivalist is good for inflicting status effects on other enemies, and then you'll have these three here, which are your special dress spheres, which you could change into. In the middle of combat, you could actually switch your dress sphere as long as you have them in your garment grid, and this is what I mean by garment grid. So you'll see the garment grid here, so I could pick whichever one I want. Different garment grids give you different things. Like, let's say I started here at the gunner here, but I wanted to switch to Dark Knight. When I switch, according to what this says here, I'll get plus 15 magic. So different, like I said, different ones give you different things. Defense, some of them will give you certain abilities, some of them will give you certain resistances. There's tons of garment grids across the game that you can get from mainline story as well as side quests. Now, as for the abilities in particular, anytime you see a crown next to a job class, that just means I maxed it out. So you'll see master. So like, let's say I wanted to pick another job class. I can say, okay, I want to be a warrior, and anytime you see one highlighted there, that means that's the one that I'm trying to level up at the time. And the job class levels level up as you keep fighting using that specific job class. And you could always say, okay, well, I want to learn Flame Tongue instead, or I want to learn Ice Brand. You could always switch it, but you have to always reach the end number there. So for Sentinel, I just need 20 points for the Sentinel, and then I have it forever. I can always use it as long as I am a warrior. And everybody can be everything, so there's no restriction. Personally, I tried to make everyone more or less take on job classes that I felt matched their character. So for her, it was Gunner, Samurai, White Mage, Trainer. For Riku, it was Alchemist, Thief, Lady Luck. For Pain, it was Warrior, Dark Knight, Berserker, Black Mage, Festivalist, so on and so forth. So then you also have the creature area I spoke about here. In this case, Brother is one of the creature. You can teach them moves. You could make them unlearn moves. You can give them accessories. You can give them items. They're basically, whatever you want them to be. You could also set these little traps across Sphera to capture those creatures. Again, I didn't get full in-depth into it, but I know, it is pretty robust. You would talk to this little guy here, Shinra.
What are you looking at?
1 second.
The more I study it, the more fascinating I get. There's limitless energy swirling around in there. Limitless energy? The life force that flows through our planet. I
So Shinra is like the brains of our crew. Brother's kind of like the Captain Idiot. Buddy right there is kind of like the guy that's the cool head in the room. Shinra, like I said, is like the genius little kid. So he helps us, plot out new areas. He helps us with information. He's your main guy for info. Like I said, brother's an idiot. But yeah, so you would come to him for the creature creator. I'll kind of show you a little bit of it. So, like I said, you can set traps all across Spira in the different areas. Certain ones are for smaller creatures like the yellow ones. Then I think medium was around like the green and blue, and then obviously the purple ones are for the larger ones. Keep in mind, once you start crossing over into other chapters, there are certain side quests that will close up because you have to do it in that chapter. You can also develop your creatures here. You can look at creature history. You can look at the bestiary, which just houses, whichever creatures you have. You can name the creature. You can enter them in the Fiend Arena. To fight for first place. You get different items for that. You could also whoops 1 second, I clicked too fast. You could also look at the treasure spheres, the spheres that you obtain outside in Spira to view different events, different key events that have been going on. A lot of them are mission related, so you'll come across them anyways. There are certain spheres, the Crimson spheres, that if you want to do one of the end game missions, you will need to collect all 10 of them to go to this place called the Den of Woe. There are certain other missions that require you to get involved with chocobo raising. There's the regular bestiary there. There's his dossiers for any and every information here. Usually you would go up to brother or whoever, and they'd be able to take you to where you gotta go. 1 second. Where did they all go, anyways? Oh yeah, you could always quit and exit the game whenever. And for the purposes of this, let me do that. Let me go ahead and do that. I'll kind of show you some of the areas just so you can kind of get a feel for some areas you'll be seeing. I'll show you some of the combat too. Like this is one of the last areas, so that's why it looks kind of weird. So anyways, you'll usually talk to him over here, and he'll take you to wherever you want to go. You'll notice the completion percentage. The completion percentages increase as you progress the story and as you do side quests. This is a game that they encourage you to play at least twice so you can get 100% completion, so that you can get and experience everything in the game. Usually when there's a place to go for a side quest or a mission, it'll say hotspot next to it, like it says for Wavell. When you click on a location, it'll tell you the mission, or it'll tell you episode complete. Usually episode's complete once you completed something there and there's nothing more to do. So you have the different areas in this game. Like I said, pretty much all the areas are just like the ones from Final Fantasy X. Let's see. One of the other interesting things you'll learn about this game too is that Yuna changes as a person as the game goes on. She no longer operates on this feeling of that, um, oh well, you're the high summoner, and we all look up to you. And she's like, that's great and all, but like she wants people to be able to do for themselves. She doesn't want people to just rely on her forever. um, she also, starts to come into her own as a person, being that, she realizes, what she really wants out of life, what really means the most to her. Um, Let me see if I can get into a quick fight here. There's also items you can get in the game. Like one of the best items I could recommend is AP Egg. It'll really help with your Dressphere levels. You'll notice too how, oh yeah, you could always pause. How I have it in active mode, active and wait mode, because usually the battles just run actively, so I'm attacking, they're attacking. There's no wait time like in the other RPGs I've shown you. But for this one, if I'm picking a move, they have to wait. But it's fast-paced fighting, so so for here, Alchemist, I can mix this high potion. We're gonna get healed. Um, she has black magic because she's a dark knight. She also has this move called Darkness, very good move. Um, we have a Zantetsuken, which is a one hit move. That's a very important move as well. There's also a cool thing about Alchemist is they have a stash here. See, I just killed him in one shot because Darkness is a cool move. But Stash has all the items that you usually have, but it won't cost you anything. So they're just free of charge. You could just use as many of them as you want, assuming you've gotten the ability points for that. You'll also notice that people are starting to move on with their lives, even after Titus is left. Like Wakka's moving on with his life. He's starting to come to grips with, his brother being gone, and Lulu and him get together, and they end up having a child. So it's a lot of coming of age kind of stuff and learning to live without kind of feelings that really prevail in this kind of game. Although the game is very lighthearted, there are a couple scenes here and there that are pretty sad, but they do their best to try to keep the game as lighthearted as possible. I'll also show you some of the Dresspheres when they go to change Dresspheres. You can adjust it in the menu. So you can go to config, and you can say, okay, I want the Dressphere animations to be normal, I want them to be short, I want them turned off. You could change your active time battle mode from wait to active. You can change the speed, all that great stuff. Also, this other interesting thing is when you kill a certain amount of a certain kind of creature, like a dog creature, they'll oversoul, and when they oversoul, they become stronger versions of themselves. So sometimes that can be problematic because maybe you may not be strong enough to handle the oversoul version. Maybe you could barely even handle the regular version. So let me take you to like another 2 places or so, just so you can kind of see everything here. See, and you see that. Hold on. Oh, thought I would have been able to jump, because I was trying to show you that she can move around and jump and everything. One second. So then we're going to use this here for airship. Oh, now I remember what the Fighters League was called. It was called the Youth League. So then we're going to talk to him here. Then we'll tell him, okay, take us to Gagazet. The music's also pretty well done in this game as well. I would say one of the better areas that they really fleshed out was Gagazet. because Gagazet looks a lot bigger than it used to. I also took us here on purpose too, because I want you to see her climbing things as well. So oh, perfect. So one of them's oversouling now, so that means they become a stronger version of themselves. Now when I click L1 here, I can switch to whichever one I have as long as it's on the grid and it's close by. So let's say I want to switch to Gun Mage. Now the animation will show. It'll show me switching. And then now I'm a Gun Mage. Plus I get that benefit of, you know, the added, you know, defense that I wanted. And let's say I wanted to switch her to Berserker. Don't worry, there's no nudity. So, I know there's a lot of people that like waifus and shit out there, but there's none of that here. Calm your ass. It is cool though when they switch to dress sphere, so I will say that. Each dress sphere looks different on everyone, so that also is an interesting thing. So it doesn't all look the same on everybody. All the abilities are pretty much the same, but it doesn't all look the same. But yeah, it's a very fast-paced battle. Like I said, aside from the monsters, there's really only 3 people out at a time. This is basically going to be your party from start to finish. The levels aren't really as important, I found. I found it's more important to get your garment grids and your dress spheres in order, as well as your equipment, to make sure you're in the right position. So you'll find stuff like, you know, max HP, stuff that allows you to cast haste, that allows you to use black magic, that allows you to eliminate random encounters, increase them, raise magic, you know, resistance to elements, you know, again, the triple AP earned, you know, be able to be resistant to status effects. So there's a whole bunch of items, which all the more reason to do the side quest so you can get these kind of items on your side as you're playing. 1 second. Because I want you guys to see me climbing a little bit before I end this video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I could mention to you guys that would be useful. I guess one of the things I can mention is this isn't a long game. The game is honestly as long as you allow it to be. Because if you wanted to make it straightforward, you could. So see, you could see her jumping there a little bit. Sometimes the jumping is a little iffy. But you could see her jumping, you know, she's more exploration used in this game, I guess, from the complaints of the first one being a little too linear, you know, not too much exploration going on. So she's more able-bodied and mobile this time. I guess one of the other things is, like you just saw, I could chain attacks. So when you chain attacks together, the attacks are stronger. Some areas in the game don't have maps. Like some of the real late game areas won't have maps, just to make it, you know, all the more difficult to know where the hell you're going. So all the more reason to use a guide, right? So this game also has random encounters, as you've been watching. Some of the enemies are harder than others. What else would I say? Yeah, I would just say, you know, it was a good game all in all. You know, it tied a lot of you know, loose ends after 10, even though it didn't necessarily need a sequel, but it was a good sequel nonetheless. But I could say that this isn't a game that I would play standalone by itself. This is a game that you would be better off. Oh, there's Kamari. This is a game that you'd be better off playing, having played the Final Fantasy X, and then you play this one, so everything makes sense. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, that's pretty much it for the most part. You know, like I said, it's an entertaining game. It's a fun game. It's not an amazing RPG, but it's a pretty good one. So it's definitely worth the try. It's worth the play. So I recommend it to play it again as long as you played 10. So with all that being said, this was Final Fantasy X-2, and I'll see you guys for another video. Peace.